If I could go back in time to when I was a first-time mom in the newborn stage, there are so many things that I would tell myself to do differently, all the way from breastfeeding to sleep schedules, sleep training or lack thereof, sleeping arrangements, and even, I know this is TMI, but even sex at the 6-week mark, all those things. The list goes on and on. Today, I want to share my top 4 things that I wish I could go back in time and tell myself to do differently. If you are new here, my name's Olivia. I have a 1.5-year-old. That sounds super weird. I have a 1.5-year-old child. I guess that's right. And I am pregnant with baby number 2. I am currently 16 weeks. So for some reason, everyone around me seems to be either having their babies this month or they're announcing their pregnancy this month. And I've seen some questions go up on Facebook, or even my sister's had questions. She recently had a baby. And so it's just got me thinking about this newborn stage and the silly things that I did, which looking back, I would not do again. Or I just wish I could have told myself, like, don't worry about those silly things. So let's get into the top 4 things that I wish I would have known as a first-time mom of a newborn. So the first thing on my list would be breastfeeding. So I'm not going to get into the specifics of the actual breastfeeding mechanics, I guess, but when it came to breastfeeding my child, I got it in my head from the hospital, from the doctor, that I needed to be very diligent about when my baby ate, for how long, and I needed to track these things. So I started doing that. I would track exactly what time he ate, how much time was in between, for how long he was on my breast, all these things. And looking back, I just think it's so silly because, of course, my baby is going to eat when my baby needs to eat, and for however long my baby needs to eat, that's how long they're going to eat for. And for some reason in my mind, I thought, oh, babies weren't created to know when to eat. They don't know when they're hungry, and so I have to manage this, which is so not true. He was fine. I did not need to wake him up. He can sleep. Like, babies sleep, and they will eat, and they'll poop, and all is well. So I wish that I wouldn't gone through that. I feel like it was like a week, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I wish I wouldn't have gone through that phase and just enjoyed life, enjoyed that week of like having my baby and nourishing my baby, loving my baby, sleeping with my baby, all those things, instead of like trying to track it and being so meticulous about the timing. Another thing that I heard from a doctor was that your baby only needs to eat for 7 minutes. And so I started doing that. Like, I would only let him eat for 7 minutes, and then I would pull him off and take him to the other side. And I did not realize until after that there's like hind milk and fore milk. And so there's a difference, and your body is putting out a different type of milk for the length of time that the baby's on your boob. So I think that kind of contributed to his like colickiness. He had some like gas issues, and I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have just been more relaxed and let him just eat as much as he needed to, and then once it was done, flip to the other side and be done with it. I just really think that I wish I would have trusted nature, trusted the way God designed my body and my baby's body, and just trusted my baby to honestly eat and not worry so much about it. Another thing that goes along with breastfeeding is, for some reason I had it in my head that I needed like the surplus of bags in my freezer of breast milk, which is so not true unless you are going to work and you need to stock up on that, you need to pump and do all the things. That's one thing. But I am a stay-at-home mom. I was working from home and taking care of my baby, and so there's really no need for me to have freezer bags full of milk for him, because my boobs were continuously making milk. There's just no reason for it, and I don't know where this silly idea came from, but I would kind of feel like anxious and a little paranoid when I didn't have like bags stacked up in the freezer. That's what I feel like is said to be normal in this time, and I don't know why. it's not necessary. I didn't need to do it. I didn't need that extra pressure or anxiety. So that's something I wish I just would have let go. The second thing I would tell myself, which this is a big one, is listening to my own body and my own body's timing instead of listening to other people, social media, doctors, things like that. So one thing I did is whenever I was set to be released to work out, I just listened to my OB at that 10-minute appointment after she checked me, and she's like, you're good to go. You can do anything you want. You can have sex and work out and do all the things. And I'm like, can I run like I used to run before? And can I do my regular workouts and all the things? She's like, yeah, just listen to how you feel and you can do anything you want. So, of course, I haven't been able to work out for 6 months, or I haven't been able to, which is a lie. You can do whatever you want and whatever feels right to your body. But I thought that I was not allowed to, and I came home and I did one of the most difficult workouts that I used to do before having my baby. And that was a huge mistake, big regret, because I felt so incredibly sore for days. I'm not just talking about like 1 or 2. I'm saying like almost a full week. I felt like I could not walk correctly because I was so sore. So instead of taking it easy, easing myself back in, just listening to my body, doing something light and adding on from there, no, I went all in, and that was a huge mistake. I definitely should have just listened to my body, kind of like she said, and taken it slow and then added things back in. Plus, again, this is TMI, but I had really terrible hemorrhoids. And so doing things like running, squats, high intensity things that are, having to do with that kind of region is not really smart when your body is trying to heal. And I didn't care because I felt this outside pressure. I was listening to other people, social media, just things like that. And I thought, I need to get my body back as fast as possible, and I need to work out and do these crazy things. And that's just so not true. And I wish I wouldn't have let that get into my mind and just listen to myself and my body and taken it slow. That would have been so much better, so much more peace, and I would have felt so much better, and I probably would have healed faster if I would have done that rather than what I did. So another piece of listening to your own body versus what everyone is saying is don't go out. I wish that I wouldn't have left the house. I've said this before in other videos, but I left the house way too early when family was asking for us to do things. I just felt this pressure that we needed to do it. I felt pressure that I needed to get out of the house. I even heard from some friends, you can't stay in the house all the time. You can't lock yourself in. But that is so not true. And don't listen to that when it's coming from a man, especially. So it is okay. This is the time for you to enjoy life, be still, take things slow, and just really get to know this beautiful newborn baby that you have been growing inside of you for 9 to 10 months. This is the time to not do anything and to close yourself in the house, okay? And so I just wish that I could go back and tell myself that it's okay and you don't have to go anywhere, and you can just enjoy this time and be at peace at home with your family and just get used to this new life of yours. Another important thing that I think I wish I would have not done and listened to my body and just taken things a lot slower would be sex. So whenever you go to, if you have an OB and you go to a 6-week appointment, a lot of times they clear you for sex. And I knew that was coming. And so I kind of geared my husband up for that. I was 6-week mark is coming around. We're going to get to do it, blah, blah, blah. And I wish I wouldn't have done that because I do feel there was a little bit of pressure, and it wasn't when you're ready and you feel you're good to go down there, then you can do it. It was if a doctor tells me I can, then I'm going to. It wasn't there was a choice the way that I set it up. even though there is, of course, and I could have told my husband I'm not ready and I don't want to do it, and it was all fine. But I think a lot of times we get it in our mind that whenever you're cleared for this, then it's time to do it. But that's not really the case. And the more I hear and talk to moms, I realize that most women are not ready at that 6-week mark at all to do it. Especially when you talk about, like, was there any tearing? How severe was that? Like, do you actually feel ready or not? And sometimes you just don't feel ready because your body it's not the same right then. Maybe you don't necessarily feel comfortable naked and feel sexual because you just had a baby and everything's changed and you have all these hormones going. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So I just wish that I wouldn't have geared up my husband so much for that moment so that I could just take things slow and decide whenever I was ready. And maybe you try and it doesn't happen. That's fine too. Just know that going in and just take things super slow because it is okay. And most people, regardless of if they're saying it or not, most people don't do it at that exact 6-week mark. They don't. I've heard a lot of stories about people waiting a year and a half, which I don't think that that's necessary, and I need to connect with my husband, so I don't feel like waiting that long. But I definitely think that whatever's right for you is what you should do, and there shouldn't be any pressure, and it shouldn't just be because you hit the 6-week mark that you automatically are good to go and you need to be ready. So the third thing that I wish I could go back and tell myself is to take care of myself, and not just when I hit the wall and got super overwhelmed and I'm crying and everything's melting in front of my eyes. No, I wish I would have taken care of myself from the very beginning. And I've said this before in other videos, this is not big things. These are very small things that you don't think about until you're in it. So for example, showering. You need to shower. You need that time alone. You need a break in your day. You need to be clean, and you just have to. And a lot of times this gets overlooked. So I wish from the very beginning that I would say every single day to my husband, I need to go take a shower. Or when my baby was asleep for a nap, I need to go sit and take a shower. Or just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you don't have to do your hair and put on a cute outfit or anything like that, but just to brush your teeth, wash your face, put on lotion, still do those little things to make yourself feel like yourself and get yourself through the day. Maybe you need to go get yourself a little treat, like a little Starbucks coffee or whatever a treat is to you every once in a while. I just think those little things need to still be there, need to still be in place, even though you're in this newborn bubble and all your attention and focus wants to be on this newborn baby. But I think if we took some time each day to just take care of ourselves and have just 5 minutes alone, I think that could make all the world of a difference, instead of me only focusing on my baby, only doing things for myself when I just happened to have 2 minutes and it wasn't anything that I set aside or wanted to do. It was all my focus wanted to be on the baby. And then I got to a point where I was I'm overwhelmed and it's too much and I haven't showered in 3 days and I haven't brushed my teeth and all these things. So if I would have just taken care of myself slowly every single day versus letting it get to that point, I think it would have been so much more relieving, easier, peaceful, and also it's not really good to get to that point and meltdown for your husband. I wish that I would have just let him know what was going on throughout, and instead of having that one big meltdown. So the fourth tip I would have for myself in that newborn phase would be sleep. This was the most challenging part of my postpartum, is newborn sleep. And it was all, in my opinion, because I was listening to other people. I was letting outsiders have a say and get in my mind about this kind of thing, when in reality, if no one ever said anything about this and I just like did what felt right to me and was right to my baby, I think that this would not have been an issue. But instead, it was an issue for 13 months. So this is a big one, so listen up. So there are all types of ways to do sleep. First of all, your sleeping arrangement. This is the most important in my opinion. So a lot of people talk about sleeping with your baby, how it can cause SIDS, and it's so dangerous, and how dare you. And if you have a hospital birth, anything like mine, they will tell you that you will do something very negative to your child. If you sleep with your child, you're not allowed to in the hospital. It's like a liability, blah, 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 all the things. When in reality, if you look it up, SIDS is actually more common when the baby is not in the room with you. So it does not make any sense to me. And how do you think that people were sleeping with babies 100 years ago, 200 years ago? What were they doing? Were they putting it in a different room, house? Like, no, they were sleeping with their baby. And so this is biologically normal to do. I have a video on this if you want to check it out, but I highly recommend you look it up yourself. I love sleeping with my baby, and I will do it for all my future babies. They're sleeping in the bed with me. I do not care, because that is the best way to get the best sleep, in my opinion. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, if you look it up and you just don't, it doesn't sit right with you, there's so many other options. You can have a bassinet. They're like, they make little things that go in your bed that have like a border that may make you feel better about it. Or your baby can sleep in a crib and you can maybe sleep in the room with them. Or maybe if it just works better for you, maybe your baby does sleep in a crib in another room. Whatever is best for you is what you should do. And there are so many contradictory opinions out there on this. And so I just wish I could tell any newborn mom, listen to your gut, listen to what feels best for you, because it's going to be different for everyone. Everyone's circumstance is different, whether you are a stay-at-home mom, whether you're a stay-at-home working mom, whether you have to get up and go to work. Those are all key factors in this. And so it's not a one-size-fits-all. Plus, every baby is different. Every baby will sleep differently. And so it's just so crazy to me that we think that you can train your baby to sleep a certain way, crying it out. That just never, ever, ever set right with me. And people would say, oh, he's not sleeping through the night. You need to let him cry it out. You have got to let him do that. Like, you're babying him, all these types of things. It's like, yeah, he's a baby and I'm going to attend to my baby. If you think about it, we help our children through everything. We help them when they're crying, when they're upset, when they're hungry. We help them eat. We don't just say, oh, figure it out. We don't just let them cry it out. You're hungry. Okay, find your own food. Like, they can't walk. They can't crawl yet. So we pick them up and carry them everywhere. We do everything for them. But yet, for some reason, sleep is like, oh, no, just throw them in there, let them cry. It's fine. No, it's not fine. It's not fine for me internally, and it's not fine for me to have my baby cry endlessly. Like, I'm just not going to do it. I can't. And I'm not going to lie, I got to the point and I felt so guilty, like, from other people telling me all the time, like, oh, you're still not sleeping through the night and it's 6 months. Like, things are not right. You're doing things wrong. You got to let him just, like, figure it out. And so there were times when I did try to let him cry. And after 10 minutes, I was like, no, I cannot do this. I cannot. And I just think it's so individual for each person. So some people, if you have to go back to work and maybe it only takes 30 minutes for your baby to like cry it out in the crib and then they're good and then you live your life and whatever, great. That's awesome. And I'm not shaming anyone for that, but I personally, I can't do it. And it caused so much like heartache for me and so much like frustration with so many people asking me that I wish I could just go back in time, not talk about it to people, do my own thing, and not worry about it, because honestly, it didn't affect me that much because I slept with him. My son didn't start sleeping through the night until about 13 months, and now he is 16 months, and he sleeps so well. So well, and he took a 4-hour nap yesterday. He never woke up at all through the night last night. He did not wake up until I believe 8:30. So he's doing amazing. He is doing so great. And I think the fear is if you don't get them to sleep by themselves at the beginning, that they're not going to be able to sleep by themselves later on, which was not the case for us at all. And when you don't actually have to like get up in the night and like attend to your baby, if you just can flip over and feed your baby, it makes things so much easier. And it's like not that big of a deal that you had to wake up for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever the case might be. And honestly, most of the time when he was eating, I fell back asleep while he was eating, and that was it. It was so easy. And so I just wish I could silence all the noise, just forget about all the sleep training methods, cry it out, all the things, all of it, silence it all, and just listen to what my intuition and what my baby were telling me. So I know that was a bit of a rant, but it was just one of those things that really triggers me because there's so many contradictory things out there, and it just drove me insane. And so I wish I would have realized sooner that just silence the noise. Anyways, I hope this doesn't seem too negative, because honestly, my postpartum was so lovely. It was so beautiful. I cannot wait for this newborn phase, postpartum period, because I absolutely loved my postpartum with my first son. And so don't think that this is all negative and that your postpartum is going to be like super crazy, challenging, whatever. These are small things that I just had to learn, and I hope that I can just, hopefully someone else can hear this and not have to learn those lessons the way that I did, or at least not take as long to learn the lessons like I did. So with that being said, that is all I have for this week. And next week I have a midwife appointment. I have some other things to talk about. So tune in for my next video. Hit the subscribe button, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next one.